Today marks the first introduction of German Cold War tech tree vehicles, and today we're going to have a look at each individual tank alongside the other events that we have going on this week on World of Tanks console, including some challenges, and also we have a few special sales which are also releasing as part of the kind of anniversary event that come into World of Tanks. There's a new wave of premium tech tree sales, and of course we'll look at the Tank Mastery Challenge and what sort of things you can get rewarded for doing the challenge, and of course some of the extra bits alongside this week. So straight off the bat, the new German tech tree vehicles are available in Cold War, and we're going to be testing them out on stream on today, so you can always have a look at our live gameplay through some of these vehicles as we kind of grind them out in the Cold War game mode, and hopefully that'll be interesting for you guys to take a look at. But most importantly, what are these vehicles? Well, we did a full in-depth analysis of all of the statistics of these vehicles when we looked at them when they were first announced into the game on Friday last week. So with that being said, we're not going to go into every single in-depth analysis of the vehicles, but I'll give an outline of what they are. The first one that you can pick up, and this is the Era 1 vehicles that comes from the M46A1 pattern, that if you've played before, you'll kind of get to grips with pretty quickly, and then it leads on to the RU251, which is of course part of the Western Alliance, and the Western Alliance RU251 is actually a super fast vehicle, able to go 89 kilometers an hour forward, which is crazy fast. And this is going to be one of the more interesting traditional light tanks that you'll be able to see within the Cold War game mode, and it should be quite a fun one to try out. There is often a very annoying stage of light tanks when you get to the higher tiers, whereby they're pretty much the same speed as all of the other vehicles. This one will certainly not be the same speed as the heavies and mediums. This is much faster, boasting one of the highest power to weight ratios of any vehicle, and so it will probably be one of the more favored vehicles that I'm gonna play on stream, and so I think that this tank should be pretty good. Of course, with the reductions in silver cost, everyone should be able to pick up this tank very quickly and start getting involved with the Cold War game mode much quicker. You're not having to grind out 150k XP just to pick up this vehicle, only 15,000 with a 250,000 silver purchase cost, so very cheap. And that makes this tank perfect for anyone trying to try out light tanks in Cold War. Of course, then we lead on to the Kanonen Jagdpanzer 45, which is essentially the same thing as the Kanonen Jagdpanzer 105 from the World War II mode. It is a very similar vehicle, except this one doesn't get a 105. It has 280 damage with very good penetration on the standard rounds. It should be more of a camo TD, a bit of a sniper, and this one's required to be able to get to the next vehicle in the line, so you'll have to play through it. However, in order to pick up this tank, you don't need a whole lot of XP, only 45k from, of course, the RU251. Costing 760,000 silver to actually purchase. Of course, then from this tank, you then go on to the Raketen Jagdpanther 2, and this is essentially a kind of missile launching vehicle similar to what we've had with the some of the other vehicles that we've had in the game, with whereby you basically don't have a main armament with the vehicle realistically, and so essentially you're going to be relying on those high alpha ATGM ammunition to be able to deal your damage, and this tank actually has pretty good damage per minute, with a damage per minute of 3,158 with 1,210 damage per shell with 660 pen, which for an Era 2 vehicle seems pretty fun, and I think this should be a pretty fun vehicle to actually try out if you are wanting to give them a go and see what they're all about. And of course, this leads on to the more traditional light tank as opposed to the kind of, I guess, tank destroyer class that we've had in the previous two tiers. The Marder 1A1 is, of course, very similar to some of the other vehicles that we've got in the game right now. It features a minigun with a rocket tube and missile tube. This tank is, however, a lot slower in terms of its top speed than the RU251. However, it is, of course, 2 tiers higher, and it does feature that ATGM Milan Launcher V2, which does significantly less damage than the Raketen Rakaton Jagdpanzer 2, but it still has 915 with its standard ammunition and 840 with its premium ammunition, making this a very interesting tank to see how it's actually going to play in the game. The missile launcher has significantly reduced reload, so you're not reloading very fast with it, which is where you're going to have to use the 20mm Rheinmetall Mark 20 kind of machine gun, I guess, to be able to utilize a bit of damage in between when you're reloading those rockets that the tank can use. It is substantially fast, but the power to weight ratio is significantly worse than the RU-251, so it's not going to be as fast as the initial tiers within this new tech tree. We then have the Begleitpanzer 57, which is the next tank in the era with 170,000 XP to unlock with 3.9 million silver purchase, leading on to the Marder 1A3, which is the top dog in this first lot of German tanks. The Begleitpanzer 57 features essentially two different main armaments. You've got a tow missile launcher that you can use as the secondary weapon alongside a primary 57mm main armament that's essentially got decent penetration values with significantly lower alpha damage than of course the tow missiles. However, this one has 24 shots per clip with an inch-clip reload of 0.4, so it's going to be fairly fast firing, and it's going to be useful for if you're kind of trying to circle around a vehicle. The tank can go 83 kilometers an hour top speed with a power to weight ratio of 25.6, putting it up there with, you know, some of the faster vehicles in the game, but it's most likely going to feel a little bit sluggish to a degree, but at the same time, you know, you're going to be able to be somewhat of a light tank in the traditional sense. And then we move on to the final Detente era light tank, which is the Marder 1A3. Now, this vehicle is indeed very, very limited in its speed, which is where it puts me at kind of a thing where the top tier vehicle from statistics wise looks a little bit more annoying to play than I would have hoped as a top tier era kind of 3 light tank, and that's because the top speed limit is 71.4 kilometers an hour forward. It goes the same speed backward, which is useful. However, the problem with this tank is that the penetration is lower than the previous era's top tier tank, which is that 57, the Begleitpanzer, which makes it a bit annoying. However, the DPM is significantly increased, so when you do manage to pen, it's going to be much better. However, you then get this ATGW Milan launcher, which has good penetration and you're going to be able to use it quite well. However, this is going to be quite a slow vehicle. 22.34 power to weight ratio puts you almost behind most medium and heavy vehicles within Era 3. So often you're going to find that you feel very sluggish in the game, and to be able to kind of maneuver around the map as a light tank is going to be a lot more annoying. So you're going to have to play more of a camo role whereby you're using different bushes and kind of escaping, as opposed to just flat out trying to flank vehicles, because yeah, most of the heavies are going to be able to match you on their top speed alongside having better power to weight ratios, so they're going to be accelerating towards you whilst you're trying to run away, which is never the thing that you want when you're playing a light tank, which kind of messes this whole thing of light tanks in Era 3 up, and it always feels a little bit annoying to play these sorts of vehicles where literally the heavy tanks that are supposed to be the slow, more armored vehicles are keeping up with you and in fact going ahead of you in some cases. Yeah, it does suck. So with that being said, the tank does look like it could be quite interesting to have both the 20mm and this Milan launcher. However, it does sacrifice quite a lot with its speed compared to some of the other vehicles, and kind of acts as though the speed just ends up going down as you go through the tiers, with basically matching the Rakaton Jagdpanzer 2 with its speed. And even the lower tier vehicle, which is the Marder 1A1, has a higher top speed limit than the Marder 1A3, which you'd have thought would have been the other way around. But that's, I guess, what Wargaming wanted to do. And although you get more DPM, is it going to be enough to actually make it worth it? I'd be interested to see your thoughts in the comment section down below. But that is the tanks. Of course, we'll be playing them live on stream, at least the ones that we can unlock during the stream. So if you want to join me or watch back the stream, because it's all live uploaded to the channel as part of our 30-day stream thing that we're doing at the minute, then go ahead and try that one out. But of course, then we have the Tank Mastery Challenge, which is the challenge portion of today's video, where we look at some of the challenges that are coming in. This is available for essentially 2 weeks, and we're going to have it until the 5th of March. The Tank Mastery Challenge is as it kind of makes sense, is a mastery challenge based task where you get different mastery based challenges completed, and essentially it's a point based system. And the mastery badges are, of course, based on the highest experience of 50% players or more. If you get 50% or more, you'll get a mastery class base 3. If you get 80% or more, you'll get a class 2. 95% will give you mastery class 1, which is the silver. And then the ace tanker is where you have higher experience than 99% of all players in the same tank within the last 7 days. So essentially, ace tankers will give you more points than, of course, getting the lower tier masteries, and you have to accumulate those points in the given kind of tank that you've chosen, the tank class that you actually choose. You pick a specific kind of tank class that you want to specialize in. So for this challenge, you can pick light tanks, mediums, heavies, tanks, tank destroyers, or artillery. Of course, whichever one you play, you're going to have to play and get mastery badges in that class. So it's up to you which ones you want to go for. At the end of it, you will be rewarded with a medium tank, a light tank, heavy tank, blah, 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 assigned class medal, and of course the emblem to go alongside it, which you can put on your tank, as well as getting a load of extra rewards that go alongside as well, including premium time, XP boosters, premium consumables, silver boosters, and the list goes on with a little bit of silver as well. So it shouldn't be too difficult for people to complete as long as you're playing a decent amount of games during the next couple of weeks. And so yeah, a pretty good operation to have as kind of an additional extra. Of course, that's not the only thing. The final kind of edition of War Tags is ending soon, with only being available to the 29th of February. I essentially got some, and we can actually showcase them here. This was what Wargaming were kind enough to actually send me, and you can essentially see them here. They have your gamer tag. Hopefully you can see that. It's just basically a dog tag, and on the back of it, it has the different season that it's associated with. And yeah, they're just kind of memorabilia or collectibles that if you wanted, you could get, but they are only available until the 29th of February. So that's for you. By the way, I am not kind of sponsored by doing this. It is literally just a case of if you want one, that's what it looks like. They're kind of cool, and they'll have your kind of username on the back of it, which is great. But other than that, we also have the challenges and events feature, which comes with a couple of additional rewards every single day. If you place in the top 5 XP earners on your team in a battle, you will get ×2 vehicle XP. You'll be able to do that twice per day. It's not twice per day per vehicle, it's just twice a day. So whatever first 2 tanks that you play, if you think that you're going to get in the top 5, then you might want to use the tanks that you're trying to grind through to do that, just so it speeds that one up. Similarly, there's a stand and deliver task, which will give you 1.5 times silver, and that's available 5 times per day. So that'll be nice if you're trying to use this in some of the other operations that we'll have going on. And all you have to do is penetrate 3 or more shots whilst receiving 3 or more penetrating shots. So essentially survive 3 shots and essentially deal 3 shots of damage. You don't have to survive in the battle. You just have to receive 3 shots and pen 3 shots. So it should be almost every single game that you start playing, to be honest, unless you get unlucky or whatever. So 1.5 times silver for the first 5 games of the day, essentially, provided you do pen 3 or more shots and receive 3 or more. Then we have, of course, the Tank Mastery, which we've already covered, and the Special Sales, which is the Premium Tech Tree Sales Wave 3. These are the option to choose either gold or free XP to be able to purchase a variety of different tanks. Now, there are a lot of tanks in here, and there's a few that I'll kind of pick out for you guys as ones that are kind of interesting, fun, or maybe the ones that I'd recommend out of all of them from my personal opinion. Obviously, maybe you want one in specific, and maybe you could leave your comments in the comment section down below as to which tanks you would actually pick for other people if they didn't have any of these and you were kind of recommending the most competitive or stuff like that, or fun tanks. For me, When you look at some of the lower tier tanks, the standout is the captured KV-1, which is a really powerful KV-1. However, you do have to fire quite a lot premium, so you're not going to make money playing this tank, but that'll be 1700 gold or 36,000 free XP essentially. And then moving down the list, you have things like the T78, which is kind of like a Hellcat T25/2 hybrid. It wasn't necessarily one I would ever pick, but it's there. You've got the TOG 2, which is obviously a fan favourite of the game, and this is available for 2,975 gold or 60,000 for XP. So yeah, I mean, if you really want to get yourself a TOG 2 and put you through the pain, and of course the fun of playing a tank with way more hit points than any other heavy tank and its tier at tier 6, then go ahead. It has really good DPM. It is just painfully slow and its armor doesn't work. It's just ginormous and a bit of a funny one to actually play. Then of course you have the Excalibur. This is a vehicle that I really enjoy playing. It is a fun tank. However, once again, not the most competitive by far, but yeah, that's the one that I really enjoyed. Then we have the Dreadnought KV-2, which is a superb vehicle, and once again, it's a KV-2 at tier 7 that is faster and has a heat ammunition gun, which has 250 pen, but has 750 alpha, and you also get the standard HE of the KV-2, so you can pen things for 910, I believe. So yeah, it's a really fun one to actually play and not that expensive to purchase. Then we have the Tiger 1 Hammer. This is also a very good vehicle and a very competitive one that you can also purchase if you're interested. Then of course you've got a variety of other tanks at tier 7, but the ones at tier 8 that I'd recommend, we have the NM116 Panzerjäger. This is one of the best vehicles out there for tier 8, and in fact we did a video yesterday that you can go and check out if you want to find out about the NM116 Panzerjäger. It is a superb camo vehicle. Think of a Hellcat but at tier 8 and probably better tier for tier than the Hellcat itself. So it is almost like a Seal Clubber down at tier 8. So yeah, it is a very solid tank, and you'll learn so much about the camo and concealment with this vehicle that I think it is a good choice for kind of learning how to use the more stealthy vehicles in the game, just because it is a very stealthy vehicle. And yeah, that's 8,900 gold, which I think if you wanted a specific premium, it's not as expensive for a tier 8 as some of them are. But of course, weigh that up against your own financial situation, or maybe you've got a load of gold hanging around and you want to get a vehicle in the game. We then have the Dragonlance C. This is another vehicle that is very strong, and in fact one of the cheapest vehicles on this list for a tier 8 premium, if not kind of just coming above the light tank, which is the HMH AMX M58. The Dragonlance C is a superb vehicle, having both APCR, I believe, and HESH ammunition. The HESH ammunition does 480 damage per shell with good penetration, and the standard rounds are of course higher penetration but with 390 alpha, and this tank is superb at being able to stay undetected as well. It's just a really good vehicle and is really cheap comparatively to how good it performs in the game. And then of course moving down the list, you start looking at some of the other vehicles at tier 10 and tier 9. There's no real ones at tier 9 that I would go out and say, yes, this tank is amazing, you have to play it. But then we move on to the tier 10s. This is where they start bringing out some of the more overpowered vehicles. And one of them being the Tyran. Of course, everyone hates the Tyran. This tank is essentially a tier 10 premium vehicle with 950 damage. Think of it like a Soviet Jaegeru, but just doesn't have the armor in terms of how hard hitting the gun is. It is also able to go 63 kilometers an hour, have fantastic camo, and be able to spot really well as well. So add all of that together into a vehicle that has very good damage per minute, considering how much alpha it does. Yeah, this tank is very strong in the game, and in fact borderline overpowered or broken in terms of how it plays in the game. So yeah, this is probably the one that is the most competitive out of all of the tier 10s available this week. And then of course the WZ-111 Quillin. This is a fun vehicle that is essentially similar to what you would get on the tech tree, but of course it looks like a dragon. at the barrel, and it also breathes fire as well. It doesn't actually do fire damage, by the way. It's not a flamethrower. It just has an animation that spreads flames out of the barrel, which is cool. This does 560 alpha. It's a fun tank. It's 50 kilometers an hour. Think of it like a T10 at tier 10 with just slightly buff characteristics, and of course a Chinese vehicle. Then we have the Valor T95 FV4201 Chieftain. So this is the kind of overpowered version of the Chieftain, although on console it's not as good as it is on PC. However, it is still a very, very solid vehicle that I think most people will enjoy if you enjoy playing some of the other kind of British tier 10 vehicles, things like the Chieftain, like the Super Conqueror and stuff like that. This tank is very, very strong going hold down, and yeah, just a very, very nice tank with 440 alpha damage. So all of those are the tier 10s. They are very expensive, all 19,125 gold or 382,500 free experience. There is a bonus to the free experience, I believe, that is still ongoing, so you can convert your gold into free experience as long as you have XP available on in your game. And you can do that by converting your gold to free experience in the store. But yeah, just weigh up the actual gold value versus maybe how much free XP you've got on your account, and maybe you want to trade that off depending on how you play if you are wanting to buy some of these. And then you've got a couple of Cold War vehicles, the Type 63 HD90, which is not particularly a very good tank. It is a boat-shaped tank that can't go in the water, even though it was an amphibious vehicle. Yeah, so it has that. It looks cool. It's not particularly very good. And it turns like a boat as well, so not particularly the best tank out there. And then you've got the T55 Enigma, which is a T55 but has a load of kind of a spaced armor slapped on it, which is kind of fun to play, and a very, very nice silver earner with a 165% silver bonus, which is very nice in Cold War for earning silver. And then the Cat B or Cat TTB, which is the Thumper. And this is essentially a high alpha damage tank with very, very, very overpowered penetration on its standard rounds. However, it does feel a little bit sluggish. The armor doesn't usually work all too well, but it is bounceable, and it certainly feels a little bit derpy with its main armament sometimes. However, it is still very, very accurate by the statistics. So with that being said, that is all of the tanks on sale that I can kind of go over that are kind of worth it if you're interested in buying vehicles. We've also got some wallet savers, which are also released with a 30% savings. These are the T55A, which is the Era 1 Eastern Alliance medium tank. You've got the Emil 1951, which is a very, very strong kind of auto-loading. Essentially, think of an Emil 1, but slightly better. This is what this tank is, with 360 alpha, 3 shots of 360, 1080 total damage. And it's quite good. And then we have the FCM50T, which is the heavy tank at tier 8, but I would probably avoid this at the moment because although it is a kind of fun one to kind of ram people with because it's quite fast and weighs 50 tons, it is not the most competitive by far, and in fact has lower base silver earn rate than most vehicles in the game as a premium tank as a basis, only having 145%. I do believe that this gets preferential matchmaking from what I can remember, but of course you can always kind of check that out in the game, so make sure that you do that. I don't know 100% if it does have, oh no it does, yeah, so it is preferential, so plays up to tier 9, so it is a preferential, which is maybe why they gave it a lower silver earn rate. But it is a historically old vehicle, and it's probably been power crept quite hard by a lot of the newer vehicles in the game, so just keep that in mind if you're wanting to get that one. This month's tank of the month, of course we covered it before, but it's the Super M48, which is just an M48 pattern with a load of spaced armor on it, giving you 850 gold, 3 days of premium, and 10 1.5 times silver boosters for the price that you're paying, $9.99 US. Of course, this is not actually very expensive for a premium tank, and you certainly wouldn't be able to purchase this with paying $10 essentially for the gold price, plus you're getting some gold on your account as well, plus the tank, plus 3 days of premium, 10 1.5 times silver boosters. So it's not a bad deal if you are interested in spending a bit of money, but of course it might not be the most competitive tank in Era 2, so go and check out the tank reviews that we have available, whether it's my videos or Ricky's or Petty's or whoever you want to watch. Make sure you have a little bit of review before you decide to purchase this tank. Weekly sales, you've got ×4 Commander XP boosts and the WZ122, which is an Eastern Alliance Era 2 vehicle that has a really cool kind of skin that it has available to it. It also gets an ATGM launcher, which is great. So it has the dual capability of firing a standard gun and also the ATGM launcher, which is amazing. Really enjoyed playing this tank. And considering that this is at a 50% discount for 5,700 gold, I think that this is actually not a bad deal whatsoever. Super savings this week are the 50% discount vehicles that we have in the game. Now, the Soviet vehicles at tier 5 is the T-34 shielded. This is a T-34 with some slightly different armor. In all fairness, I don't think I would actually recommend ever getting these sort of low tier premiums because they're not that great and they're not that fun. But then you come up to the tier 6 Cromwell B. This is a vehicle that is very, very fun. And in fact, you have to earn 20,000 XP in order to be able to unlock the ability to purchase it. Or at least purchase it at the 50% discount. The Cromwell B is an exceptional vehicle, really, really fun. It's a Cromwell that's very fast and has a very nice skin. It's probably one of the nicer looking kind of British skins that you have. Of course, you don't have to kind of apply a skin. You don't have to purchase a skin. It's just already, that's part of the tank as the premium version. So it's just a really, really fun tank. I 3-marked this years ago. And it was a really, really good experience, and I think that some people who enjoy the British low alpha damage tanks will enjoy this a lot. So I would 100% recommend this tank. It's not going to cost a bomb because of the fact that it is quite cheap to purchase at full cost. So with a 50% discount, you're probably paying about 1,700 gold, which for a tier 6 vehicle is pretty good, and I think it's probably worth it if you're interested. And then the tier 8 is the Panzer 58 Mutz, the tank that probably everyone has at this point, given all of the earn operations and free vehicles given out. I wouldn't recommend purchasing it. It is just a bog standard medium tank at tier 8. It's still very fun to play and in fact probably useful for more experienced players since it has no armor and you have to rely on having better DPM than some other vehicles in the game to make it work. It's quite fast, but yeah, for the most part, probably wouldn't recommend it, even if it is only 4,350 gold. But that's up to you whether you want to get a tank like that, and maybe you really enjoy this tank, so let people know in the comments. And of course, don't forget about the war chests. These are also available, and you can purchase them with gold, I believe, anyway. So it's kind of one of those things that essentially you can get in the game. These are the celebration war chests. There should have been given 3 celebration war chests to everyone who logs in, so make sure that you do log in because that's part of the community event that we've got going on at the minute. So just make sure that you do log in for the celebrations event because you'll get those 3 kind of rewards and you can open them up. They've got a really nice selection of premium tanks that you can get for free out of them, so make sure that you do log in and get those. Of course, the Big 10 community event where you can pick up the T-34 is still ongoing. It's available till the 5th of March. And so I believe this event will get done within the next week. So we should all have all of these tanks. It's a community-based one. So it's just a case of, I believe, playing so many games or something like that. But either way, you'll see it in the main login screen when you come to select the game mode. It's there. It tells you the progress. It's out of 85 million, I believe. And when I last played the game, which was yesterday, we were about 58 million or something like that. So yeah, we should get this operation done quite quickly, and I don't think it will be long before it's completed. Our anniversary sale is still on, as we talked about, and celebration war chest, as we've already talked about. You can get them for gold, 500 gold each, and they have a decent kind of a list of tanks that you can get out of them, so that's always nice. And I managed to pick up the Object 477A Malo, which is probably one of the better ones out of there, but you can pick up a load of different tanks within it, and you can see those on screen right now. Pause the video if you want to and have a look, but at the end of the day, it's down to you whether you want to spend 500 gold on picking those up. They do have some really nice amounts of free XP boosters, silver boosters and stuff like that. They come in quite a high quantity, but at the same time you are paying 500 gold, so just weigh it up against being able to pick exactly what you want at the end of the day. These sorts of chests and stuff like that are essentially kind of risking your money to be able to get vehicles or whatever, and you're not guaranteed anything, remember, even if it is percentage based, that they give, you know, 10% premium tanks, etc. It is not a guarantee that if you open 20 chests you will get one tank. It is a, you know, a kind of, you get 10% every time, and the likelihood of you getting one, I believe, is after opening the 3 chests that we get for free, is about 27%. Even though it's 10% each time, it's the essentially 90% is the chance that you don't get it, and in order to do that you do 90%, which is 0.9 times 0.9 times 0.9, and that gives you the overall chance of you not getting the tank. So yeah, just be aware of that. When you do come to actually get it, it comes out at 27% chance of you getting one for free as part of this event that we've got going on with those 3 free war chests. And of course, depending on how many you open will affect the likelihood of you actually getting one. Not to guarantee you anything. If you open 11 or whatever, you could get unlucky. Maybe you don't get any. Maybe you get 3 in 3 chests. I don't know. Maybe you get super lucky. But at the same time, it is something that you have to be aware of, that there are no guarantees, unless of course you open an inordinate amount of boxes, which I believe is like 25 or 50 or something like that, and it will guarantee you a premium tank, I believe, from what I can remember of this. So with every 50th celebration war chest, you're guaranteed at least one epic tank reward. So epic being the key, which is a T58 heavy, Centura CC45, Malo Concept 1 or T55A, or of course the AMX30B2 Forad. So yeah, you can get a guarantee if you open 50. Either way, King Dragon Urn Challenge is also available, the Marder VTS1, which is also a new tank, and the Anniversary Login Gifts and MBTB Heavy Tank that are also available, and a load of the standard kind of events that go on, like the long haul event. Other than that, that is literally all we have for you this week on World of Tanks. Hopefully you enjoyed today's video where we went through everything, and yeah, if you have any questions or queries, let me know in the comments, and let me know what you think of the new German light tanks and tank destroyers and all of the new German Cold War vehicles that are coming into the game. Of course, make sure that you join me on some of the streams if you're interested in seeing me play live and whether or not I can actually perform under the pressure of having multiple people watching all at once, and yeah, probably laughing when I make some terrible plays, and most of the time getting YOLO'd by some people who are watching. But either way, hopefully you enjoy it, and I will see you in the next video. Have a great rest of the week and a great rest of the day. Goodbye.